Hello, welcome to another episode of Snappy Potions. And yes, today I've decided to use my laptop because it's much better than my iPad, more storage, much more convenient, and lots of more things and features and functions. Now, yes. Why am I showing you this changing cursor size? Well, because originally my cursor was quite big. I mean, like, it was huge. But because we're gonna read a passage today, I actually have to point and show you where we're reading. So I changed it. I changed the settings. So if you do want to change your cursor size, like make it huge or large, go to settings, then accessibility, and there you can control your cursor size. Alright, there we go. So I just looked that up a while ago, but alright, back to our little website here called Khan Academy. It's an educational website for like pre-K to 12. And today we're gonna read a passage from the SAT. Now this isn't really the new SAT. Wait, is this the new SAT? No, I don't think so. I think this is the old SAT. Wait a minute. Let me check. Yep, there's math and reading and writing, but we're gonna do reading and writing. So, SAT. SAT. No, wait. Yep. So Khan Academy has the full SAT. I know it's for high schoolers, but yes, it's for high schoolers, but it's quite easy, especially reading and writing. So yes, this is the new SAT. Now, let's read history. And here we go. It's quite easy, so don't worry. There's 11 questions, and when we're finished with this, we're gonna check our answer. I hope we do fine. So maybe you can set up an account on Khan Academy yourself and solve the SAT. So this passage is adapted. No, this is bad. This passage is adapted from a letter written by Thomas Jefferson to James Madison. Yep, Thomas Jefferson to James Madison. I do believe that James Madison is... Wait, James Madison. Oh, the fourth U.S. president. Okay. I know Thomas Jefferson is the third. John Adams is the second, but James Madison, yes, he's the fourth. So the third U.S. president to the fourth U.S. president. It was originally written in 1785 when Jefferson was residing in France. Wow, Thomas Jefferson lived in France. Okay, 7 o'clock and retired to my fireside. I have determined to enter into conversation with you. This Fontainebleau is a village of about 5,000 inhabitants when the court is not here, and 20,000 when they are, occupying a valley through which runs a brook, and on each side of it a ridge of small mountains, most of which are naked rock. The king comes here in the fall always to hunt. His courts attend him, as do also the foreign diplomatic corps. But as this is not indispensably required, and my finances do not admit the expense of a continued residence here, I propose to come occasionally to attend the king's levees, returning again to Paris, distant 40 miles. So, apparently he's in France, but not in Paris. It's 40 miles away. This being the first trip, I set out yesterday morning to take a view of the place, For this purpose I shaped my course towards the highest of the mountains in sight, to the top of which was about a league. As soon as I had got clear of the town, I fell in with a poor woman, walking at the same rate with myself and going the same course. Wishing to know the condition of the labouring poor, I entered into conversation with her, which I began by inquiries for the path which would lead me into the mountain, and thence proceeded to inquiries into her vocation, condition, and circumstance. She told me she was a day labourer at 8 sous of 40 sterling the day, that she had 2 children to maintain, and to pay rent of 30 livres for her house, which would consume the whole of 75 days. Wow, this Thomas Jefferson is quite nosy. I mean, he wants to know everything about this woman that he met on the road. That often she could get no employment. Oh, this is like old words, like sous, D sterling, livers, employment, and of course was without bread. As we had walked together near a mile, and she had so far served me as a guide, I gave her, on parting, 24 sous, probably a currency. Well, she burst into English accent. She burst into tears of gratitude, which I could perceive was unfeigned, because she was unable to utter a word. She had probably never before received so great an aid. This little attendrissement, let's see what that means, emotion, alright, wow, this little attendrissement with the solitudes of my walk led me into a train of reflections on that unequal division of property which occasions the numberless instances of wretchedness which I had observed in this country and is to be observed all over Europe. The property of this country is absolutely concentrated in a very few hands, having revenues of from 500,000 of guineas a year downwards. These employ the flower of the country as servants, some of them having as many as 200 domestics not labouring. They employ also a great number of manufacturers and tradesmen, and lastly the class of labouring husbandmen. But after all these comes the most numerous of all the classes, that is, the poor who cannot find work. I ask myself what could be the reason that so many should be permitted to beg who are willing to work in a country where there is a very considerable proportion of uncultivated lands. These lands are kept idle mostly for the sake of game. It should seem then that it must be because of the enormous wealth of the proprietors, which places them above attention to the increase of their revenues by permitting these lands to be labored. I am conscious that an equal division of property is impracticable, but the consequences of this enormous inequality, producing so much misery to the bulk of mankind, legislators cannot invent too many devices for subdividing property, only taking care to let their subdivisions go hand in hand with the natural affections of the human mind. The descent of property of every kind, therefore, to all the children, or to all the brothers and sisters, or other relations in equal degree, is a politic measure and a practicable one. Another means of silently lessening the inequality of property is to exempt all from taxation below a certain point, and to tax the higher portions of property in geometrical progression as they rise. Whenever there is in any country uncultivated lands and unemployed poor, it is clear that the laws of property have been so far extended as to violate natural light. The earth is given as a common stock for man to labor and live on. If, for the encouragement of industry, we allow it to be appropriated, we must take care that other employment be furnished to those excluded from the appropriation. And it goes on. So, this is quite a long passage and a hard one because there's lots of old 18th century words. But let's see what farmers was. Number 2. What husbandman is farmers? Husbandmen are farmers. Wow. This old language is quite strange. Why do they call husbandmen farmers? Anyways, Now it's just an excerpt and a sample. We're not actually gonna solve the problems because this is quite hard. History is probably the hardest. Why I chose history, even though it was the hardest, it was my favorite. I knew it was the hardest, but actually, science is the easiest. Yup, science is the easiest. Wait, what should we actually do? Now, history, yep, that was like how history passages were. I just wanted to show you. Social science, let me see. GDP. Okay, what about literature? There we go. Literature is quite easy. Yep, actually, it's easier than science. I mean, everyone's opinion is different. Some people say science is the easiest. Some people say literature or history or I don't know about social science, but yes, let's stick with literature and let's make a promise to ourselves that we will finish and solve all the problems. Now, this passage is excerpted from Jane Austen. Ooh, Northanger Abbey. So, Jane Austen, apparently, she wrote quite famous books. Yup, knew it. Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility. Oh, Northanger Abbey. Yup. Here, Northanger Abbey. So she's quite famous for that too. Yup. And Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. That's a parody. There we go. Yep. She's quite famous for writing Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen. No wonder I've heard her before. This passage is excerpted from Jane Austen, Northanger Abbey, originally published in 1803. So this is quite old. I mean, 19th century. Wait a minute. Let me check something. Austen. English, yup. I should use my British accent. Mrs. Allen was so long in dressing that they did not enter the ballroom till late. As for Mr. Allen, he repaired directly to the card room. With more care for the safety of her new gown than for the comfort of her protégée, Mrs. Allen made her way through the throng of men by the door as swiftly as the necessary caution would allow. Catherine, however, kept close at her side and linked her arm too firmly within her friend's to be torn asunder by any common effort of a struggling assembly. Still they moved on. Something better was yet in view, and by a continued exertion of strength and ingenuity, they found themselves at last in the passage behind the highest bench. It was a splendid sight, and she began, for the first time that evening, to feel herself at a ball. Oh, so they're at a ball. And Mrs. Allen, there's Mr. Allen, Mrs. Allen, Catherine, Mrs. Allen's friend, and they're at a ball. And apparently, Mrs. Allen is pulling like Catherine towards the ballroom. Yes. And they're at the highest bench so they can like see the whole room. Alright, she longed to dance, but she had not an acquaintance in the room. Oh, okay, so there's only Catherine and Mrs. Allen, and apparently they have to dance with men because they're women. But she doesn't know anyone, even though she wants to dance, so she can't dance. Catherine began to feel something of disappointment. She was tired of being continually pressed against by people, the generality of whose faces possessed nothing to interest, and with all of whom she was so wholly unacquainted that she could not relieve the irksomeness of imprisonment by the exchange of a syllable with any of her fellow captives. What? Captives? Captives? Wow. They saw nothing of Mr. Allen, and after looking about them in vain for more eligible situation, were obliged to sit down at the end of a table at which a large party were already placed, without having anything to do there or anybody to speak to except each other. Mrs. Allen congratulated herself as soon as they were seated on having preserved her gown from injury. So there's a lot of people in the ballroom, and they're getting squished. None of them like it, and Mrs. Allen has successfully managed to preserve her nice gown. It would have been very shocking to have it torn, said she. Would not it? It is such a delicate muslin. Muslin? What's a muslin? We can look that up. Muslin. Muslin definition. Lightweight cotton cloth in a plain weave. Wow. Wait. Muslin. Wait, let me look that out again. Lightweight cotton cloth in a plain weave. It's just light cotton cloth. Alright. So it's just a type of fabric. Anyways, where were we? Oh, it is such a delicate muslin. For my part, I have not seen anything I like so well in the whole room, I assure you. How uncomfortable it is, whispered Catherine, not to have a single acquaintance here. All right, poor you. Yes, my dear, replied Mrs. Allen with perfect serenity. It's very uncomfortable indeed. What shall we do? The gentlemen and ladies at this table look as if they wondered why we came here. We seem forcing ourselves into their party. Are they intruders? Aye, so we do. That is very disagreeable. I wish we had a large acquaintance here. I wish we had any. It would be somebody to go to. Very true, my dear, and if we knew anybody, we would join them directly. The Skinners were here last year. I wish they were here now. Wow. Did the Simpsons get president? I mean, no, not president. Principal Skinner from this book? The Skinners, they're skinny or something. I wish they were here now. Had not we better go away as it is? Here are no tea things for us, you see. No, stay in the ballroom. Stay in the ballroom. No more there are indeed. How very provoking. But I think we had better sit still, for one gets so tumbled in such a crowd. How is my head, my dear? Somebody gave me a push that has hurted, I'm afraid. I mean, this... Who is this? My dear. So, the person who is calling the other my dear is apparently Mrs. Allen. I think she's a bit older. And she calls, somebody gave me a push that has hurted. Like, she's like personification. Not really, but somebody gave me a push that has hurted. Like, it's alive. Like, she's like speaking like her head is alive and that it has hurt, and they're two different things, her head and herself. So like, somebody gave me a push that has hurt it, I'm afraid. Well, somebody gave me a push that has hurt it, I'm afraid. Well, I guess it's just like head, so not to repeat the word head, she just used it. Okay. So I thought this was, she treated her head very valuably and almost thought it was biotic, so that it was alive. And so kind of like personification, treating it like it's a person. But anyways, somebody gave me a push that has hurted, I'm afraid. No, indeed, it looks very nice, but dear Mrs. Allen, I'm sure there's nobody you know in all this multitude of people. I think you must know somebody. I don't. Upon my words, I wish I did. I wish I had a large acquaintance here with all my heart, and then I should get you a partner. I should be, so glad to have you dance. There goes a strange-looking woman. What an odd gown she has got on. How old-fashioned it is. Look at the back. I mean, this is the beginning of the 19th century, and if what they're calling an odd gown is old-fashioned, it should be like 17th, 16th century. Wow. Let me see. Six, 16th century clothing. There we go. Alright, so this is the 19th century, right? Yup. So, like, very royal. The Shakespearean times. Alright, 17th. Still royal, but a little bit Guy Fawkes. Yup. Getting closer. 18th. Oh, now it's getting a bit modern, so it changed to a bit French Revolution style, and finally 19th. Oh, so since it's 19th, it's quite modern, so no, not that. So gentlemen are also quite modern, but I guess the people wore, the odd woman wore this kind of clothes. So there was a really wide gap between 18th century clothes and 19th century clothes. And what about 20? Oh no. Yeah, we know. So this is like kind of a historical clothing timeline. 1900s, yeah, all that. Isn't there anything that shows like century change? Yep, so what we're talking about is the gentlemen wear things like that, and the women wear things like this. Yep, 19th century clothing. So, after some time, they received an offer of tea from one of their neighbors. Oh, it was thankfully accepted, and this introduced a light conversation with the gentleman who offered it, which was the only time that anybody spoke to them during the evening, till they were discovered and joined by Mr. Allen when the dance was over. Well, Miss Morland, said he directly, I hope you have had an agreeable ball. Wow, sarcasm. Very agreeable indeed, she replied, vainly endeavoring to hide a great yawn. I wish she had been able to. Wait. Oh, I wish she had been able to dance, said his wife. I wish we could have got a partner for her. I have been saying how glad I should be if the Skinners were here this winter instead of last. Or if the Perrys had come, as they talked of once, she might have danced with George Perry. George Perry. Is that like, wait a minute. So this is a great chance to see if this is non-fiction or if this is fiction. George, a cricketer. Wait, 1790. This is 1803. So this guy would have been 9 years old, cricketer. This guy would have been dead. This guy would not have even been born yet. So, yeah, this is fiction. She might have danced with George Perry. Wait, that reminds me of Jim Carrey or George Clooney. Wow, I am so sorry she has not had a partner. We shall do better another evening, I hope, was Mr. Allen's consolation. So he's quite a nice man, Mr. Allen. Now, finally, we will get to solve these problems. The main purpose of the first paragraph is to, this is quite easy. Let's see, establish, where's the first paragraph? Wait, here to here. Okay. Establish the distant relationship between Mr. and Mrs. Allen. Oh, with more care for the safety of her new gown than for the comfort of her protege. Wait, what's it? First of all, we should look up what a protege. No, not that yet. Protege. A person who is guided and supported by an older and more experienced. So like her husband. Okay. Miss Allen went to the card room, and Mrs. Allen just went to the ball. So yeah, could be. Main purpose, show how claustrophobic and crowded the ballroom is. Throng of men. Struggling assembly. Continued exertion of strength and ingenuity. They found themselves at last in the passage behind the highest bench. Describe the main character's belated arrival at the ball. No, not exactly. Introduce the friendship between Catherine and no. So we should choose between A or B. What do you think it is? Obviously, not introduce the friendship. Not like it's not a belated arrival. So either it's to show Mr. Allen and Mrs. Allen like the distant relationship. Wait. So this is like, yeah, that's it. So I don't think it's the main purpose, just a little feature. Or show how claustrophobic and crowded. Yup. And from here, the rest of the paragraph. Like it's so crowded, they have to squish themselves. Like Mrs. Allen tries to save her poor little gown. Not, she doesn't want it to tear. Yup. She's squished, and with their last exertion of strength, they found themselves at last. Like they really struggled while getting past all the people in the ballroom. So, show how claustrophobic and crowded the ballroom is. Yep, I think that's it. See? She was tired of being continually pressed against by people. Now, the narrator implied that Catherine did not have an enjoyable. Obviously, she began to feel something of disappointment. She was tired. There's nobody to talk to. Alright, would rather not have to dance with anyone. What? She wants to dance. Even Mrs. Allen wants Catherine to dance. Her friend to dance. So, Catherine would rather not have to dance with anyone? No. Wrong. Catherine had a fine time at the ball in spite of herself. No, she did not. Did she? Nah. That's not like keeping the company of Mrs. Allen. No! She's her friend. Had a fine time? No. Would rather not have to dance with anyone? No. Did not have an enjoyable time at the ball. Yep. So B, A, I know what's next. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? Now, this exact question, this which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question, is very commonly, it's very common in the SAT, especially reading comprehension. So you've really gotta think of this as an important question. So, where did we find evidence for this? All right, let's check. 1 by 1. 3, 8. 3 to 8. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, with to assembly. With more care, Mrs. Allen made her way. Catherine, however, kept close at her side and linked her arm too firmly within her friend's to be torn asunder by any common effort of a struggling assembly. No, not really. It doesn't show how she didn't like the ball. 10 to 12. Room. Yep, from here to room. It was a splendid sight, and she began for the first time to. Nah. Next. 13 to 17. Catherine captives. Catherine to captives. Catherine began to feel something of disappointment. She was tired of being, yes, continually pressed by people. She was unacquainted, relieved the irksomeness of imprisonment, fellow captives. Yes. So, yep, I think it's this. But let's just check number D. They to utter. They saw nothing of Mr. Allen. Yeah. The end of a table at which a large party was already placed. Nah, it's number C. Yep. And number 4, the description of Mrs. Allen in lines 23 to 26 primarily serves to. Alright, 23. Where's 23? 1, 2, 26. Right? Mrs. Allen congratulated herself as soon as they were seated on having preserved her gown from injury. It would have been very shocking to have torn, said she. Would it not? Would not it? It is such a delicate muslin. For my part, I have not seen anything I like so well in the whole room, I assure you. Unruffled personality. Wait, what's unruffled? Oh no, unruffled, yes. Not disordered or disarranged, no. Calm, no. She's not calm. Highlight her scrupulousness. Scrupulousness. To do things properly and correctly. Doing it properly and correctly? No. Show her expensive taste. Establish her sense of vanity. Wait, what's vanity again? I know what vanity is. Definition. Excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements. So, narcissism, conceit, self-love, yes. Exactly. Establish her sense of vanity. You see, she's like, I've never seen anything like this, my beautiful gown, or it would have been very shocking to have it torn. It's so precious, right? Yep. Now, this might trick you because expensive tastes, but we don't know if this is really expensive. Maybe it's like real cheap, but she's just trying to make it seem expensive. So, she's trying to, she's a narcissist. Too much self-pride. Now, according to the passage, Catherine's uncomfortable because, now where does it say? Oh, how uncomfortable it is not to have a single acquaintance here. Here we go. Wow, they do not know anyone at the ball. They don't have any acquaintances here. Alright. As used in line 40, provoking most nearly means provoking. No, alright. Had not we better go away as is? Here are no tea things for us, you see. No more they are indeed. How very provoking. But I think we had better sit still. Captivating? Wait, let's plug it in. No more there are indeed. How very captivating. How very irritating. How very invigorating. How very penetrating. Now, it isn't captivating or penetrating. Either irritating or invigorating. Invigorating is real strong, but irritating is kind of weak. So let's see. Had not we better go away as it is? Here are no tea things for us, you see. No more there are indeed. How very provoking. Irritating or invigorating. I think she's a bit invigorated. She's really angry about this. Wait. No more there are indeed. How very invigorating. Nah, too strong. So, while we're solving these SAT problems, we don't want answers that are too strong, a little bit broad and general, okay? And wide. Yeah. So it's not, wait. No more there are indeed. How very irritating. Yep, it's irritating when there are no T's, when there's no T for them here. How very irritating. Okay, so next, which statement best characterizes the relationship between Mrs. Allen and Catherine? Catherine is irritated by Mrs. Allen but differs. So what is differ exactly? Put off to later time, but defers to her in conversation. Catherine is amused by Mrs. Allen but is frustrated by her lack of social connections. Nah. Catherine is impressed by Mrs. Allen and is interested in her social contacts. Nah. Catherine is angered by Mrs. Allen and believes her social tactics are ineffective. Oh, here. No, indeed, it looks very nice, but dear Mrs. Allen, so she's like saying like, how's my head? Somebody gave me a push that has hurted. Like it's useless to like ask a friend like, is my head okay? So Catherine is irritated and she says, no, indeed, it looks very nice, but so she's kind of quite irritated. So it's not C or D. She's not impressed nor angered, but she's irritated. But she's irritated, right? Like she's, nah, no, indeed, it looks very nice, but there's something more important I have to say. So what is? But dear Mrs. Allen, are you sure there's nobody you know in all this multitude of people? I think you must know somebody. So, but is frustrated by her lack of social connections. Yup. I think it's this. Why do you say, don't you choose this irritated thing? Because actually, I think she's amused because somebody gave me a push that has hurt it, I'm afraid. Like this kind of personification thing. You remember how I was amused by this? I think Catherine is also amused by this statement too. Like how, oh, can you please look at my head? Like she isn't focusing on important things. She's just like focusing on herself and her beauty and her head. So she's quite amused. So she's just saying like carelessly, no, indeed, it looks very nice. So there we go, amused. Now, which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? Now, where do we find this? Oh, here. There we go. But somebody, exactly where we found it. But dear Miss Allen, yup. So there we go. That was easy. And now, as used in line 56, agreeable most nearly means 56. Well, Miss Morland, said he directly, I hope you have had an agreeable ball. Enjoyable, tolerable, not common, not tolerable, acceptable, no. a little bit too serious. I hope you have had an acceptable ball. I hope you have had an enjoyable ball. Yes, enjoyable. Now, we're almost at the end. Mrs. Allen's response in lines 46 to 48, I dance, mainly serves to I dance. Alright. I don't, upon my word. I wish I did. I wish I had a large acquaintance here with all my heart, and then I should get you a partner. I should be so glad to have you dance. Show how shunned they are in the midst of the ball. Nah. Highlight her attempts to expand her social circle. Attempts to extend her social circle. I wish I had a large acquaintance here with all my heart. Nah. Emphasize the goal of, yes, finding Catherine a partner. You see. And then I should get you a partner. I should be so glad to have you dance. So, yeah. Demonstrate their inability to mingle with new acquaintances. Nah. So there we go. She really wants to find Catherine a partner. Like, she says this here too. I'm so sorry she has not had a partner. So, yep. So who says this? I wish she had been able to dance, said his wife. Oh, again. So, him is Mr. Allen. So, said his wife. His wife is Mrs. Allen, right? So she says this like 2 times. I wish she had been able to dance. She really wants to see Catherine dance. I wonder why. The conversation between Mr. Allen and Catherine in lines 55 to 58, well, yawn, reveals that Catherine is, Well, Miss Morland, said he directly, I hope you have had an agreeable ball. Very agreeable indeed, she replied, vainly endeavoring to hide a great yawn. What? Endeavor? Oh, yes, we know Endeavor. Endeavor's like, keep back. Like, she's trying to hide a great yawn. But she's endeavoring it. Wow. Wait, am I sure? Endeavor. Endeavor car. Wow, a British television series called Endeavor. But yeah, try hard to do or achieve something. Like, she's trying so hard to hide her great yawn. Alright, Catherine is only being polite to Mr. Allen to conceal her real feelings, incredibly tired and therefore not paying attention to Mr. Allen. Extremely bored and doesn't care if Mr. Allen notices it. Then she would have yawned, offended by Mr. Allen's question and answers sarcastically. Now, it's not only being polite to Mr. Allen to conceal her real feelings. Like, she's not trying to conceal her real feelings. She's just trying not to be disrespectful. So she's not yawning. Now, it's either B or D because, and answers sarcastically, right? Because I hope you have had an agreeable ball. Very agreeable indeed. Not paying attention because she's I think she's purposely being sarcastic. Like, she's quite offended. She's like, for this whole passage, she's been like, oh, I hate this ball. Well, I have no acquaintances. Yeah, I hate it. But she's like offended and answers sarcastically. Like, she said, oh yeah, it was quite enjoyable. Wow, that's like real sarcasm. Like, Mr. Allen doesn't notice, but we are the readers, so we know how sarcastic this is. Now, let's check our answers now. Please, I pray. Click. Oh, wait. Oh! 1 incorrect. So, we have, oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4 incorrect, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 incorrect. So, let's see number 1. It's not show how claustrophobic and crowded the ballroom is. These details are not provided as the main purpose of the paragraph. These details are not provided as the main purpose. And what is? Describe the main character's belated arrival at the ball. Wait, what's belated again? Coming or happening later than should have been the case. Yeah, she did come later, like, till late. They did not enter the ballroom till late. This choice is the best answer. The paragraph shows the main characters and their arrival, describing the scene and their behavior as they enter. Alright. Now what's next? Question number 7. Catherine is irritated, not amused. This choice is the best answer because Catherine seems frustrated that Mrs. Allen is not doing anything about the fact that they do not know anyone. Yeah. Remember, I was almost about to choose A and then B or A or B, but I just chose this because she was amused, but apparently she was quite irritated by how Mrs. Allen was like, I hurt my head. Someone pushed it. And is my hair okay? So she's quite irritated. Yup, that's sensible. That makes sense. And now what's this? Wait, what's sensible? Is there a word called sensible? Sensible. Readily perceived appreciable. Likely to be of benefit. Practical, realistic. Yeah, sensible. Yeah, it's sensible. It makes sense. So, why? What's this? Oh, because we got this wrong, we obviously got the next one wrong. So it's actually what here. So really, we could have found this. Let's see. What shall we do? The gentlemen and ladies at this table look as if they wondered why we came here. We seem forcing ourselves into their party. Aye, so we do. That is very disagreeable. I wish we had a large acquaintance here. This choice is the best answer because these lines show Catherine's frustration through her dialogue, but also her deference to Mrs. Allen in asking what to do. So Mrs. Allen so this is Mrs. Allen. She's like, again, she's being a narcissist. Like, the gentlemen and ladies at this table look as if they wondered why we came here. We seem forcing ourselves into their party. So Mrs. Allen cares about their looks and how they look like in front of the public. But yeah, she's irritated. But Catherine is irritated. She's like, aye, so we do. That's very disagreeable. But she wants to state her thoughts. I wish we had a large acquaintance here. That's what she really wants. Now, last one. What's this? Only being polite to Mr. Allen to conceal her real feelings. Why isn't this wrong? The passage indicates that Catherine attempts to hide her yawn, showing that she is earnestly trying not to offend Mr. Allen. Yeah, but it could be this. She's answering sarcastically, but I guess she's not really offended. She just finds that amusing. So she just answers sarcastically. Like, if someone asks you, hey, how was the ball after you had such a horrible time? You're quite amused, not really offended, like, because that person doesn't know what you just went through. Alright, now this choice is the best answer. Although Catherine tells Mr. Allen that she had an agreeable time, yep, so it was almost this answer, but she yawns, which contradicts her words by showing that she was actually bored. So, this is also extremely bored and doesn't care if Mr. Allen notices it, but she does care. So this is wrong. This is obviously wrong, and this apparently is wrong, and this is apparently right, which contradicts her words by showing that she was actually bored. So, yeah, she's trying to conceal her real thoughts. And she's trying to be polite. So the first thing, she tries not to yawn, she's being polite. And the second thing is, she's not trying to be rude, because when someone asks you, did you have a great time? And you say, oh, it was horrible. Like, it's kind of rude, right? So, yeah, that makes sense. That's sensible. Alright, I am finished reviewing. What's this? 100 points for completing this quiz. 525 points for answering questions correctly. Okay, and let's see if this actually makes another new. Oh, so the Gossip of Valley View. So that's gonna be our next one. L. M. Montgomery. So before we end this video, let's see what we have. No, not I'm Mom. Montgomery. All right. So, let's see. Uh, who wrote our next passage? So, is this a child? Oh, so it's a she. Yep, she's quite cute. I've seen her somewhere. Oh, Annie of Green Gables. Annie's House of Dreams, Annie of the Island, Annie of Windy Poplars. She's the author of Annie of Green Gables. So um, you see, the SAT only gives out passages that are made by real famous people. So, Lucy Maud Montgomery. Okay, that's our next author. And at first I thought a child wrote that passage, but obviously it was just her early life. So let's go back to this and see which, where our passage is actually from. The Gossip of Valley View. Let's see if it's one of her famous books. Oh, there's even an Annie of Ingleside. The Gossip of Valley View. No! I guess it isn't too famous, but let me type The Gossip of Valley View. Lucy Montgomery, The Gossip of... Is it really Lucy? Yup. The Gossip of Valley View. Oh no, low battery, 8%. Oh no. Oh, so it's a little short story. Yeah, I guess it isn't too famous. Most short stories aren't known by the public. So it's because of my low battery that this page isn't loading. But that's okay. We just learned that it was a short story, and here we go. Next time we're gonna solve our new passage. There we go. Low battery. Uh-oh. And goodbye. And remember, always subscribe. Subscribe, guys. Bye.